agreement in regards to the opening of the show and the first match. And that first match, of course, was the Hell in the Cell between Seth frickin' Rollins and the Rated R superstar and Hall of Famer Edge. And interestingly enough, I thought, it just caught my eye, but a female referee as well. So they were sort of pulling out the stops from the WWE point of view with the females because they had the most female matches on the night. And that female referee, Jessica Carr, actually refereed 2 matches on the card. So a little bit of probably byplay there. But, Mike, I know you've got plenty to say about this match, and I agree with a lot of it, but some of it I have a different view. But what were your thoughts?
Okay. Firstly, I'd like to say the 2 wrestlers in this match, this is not pointed towards them or their performance. Right? The thing is that to open a show, and this is like, this booking reminded me of somebody that's booking in the indies out here in Australia. To open the show with a cage match, basically no rules, tables, ladders, chairs, right? To hot shot the beginning of the show like that, for me, is ridiculous. The 2 wrestlers put on an amazing performance, and I'm not going to say anything negative against those 2 guys. Brilliant performance, right? Rollins and Edge, the name says it all. But when you're talking about whoever booked this show, right, which, like I said, I think it's some kid in his bedroom, a 12-year-old that's booked it, especially the opening match, right? To start off the show like that is absolutely ridiculous, right? You are hot-shotting the show. Now, for everyone who wants to understand or doesn't understand the word hot shot. Hot shot is an old wrestling term back in the days of the territories where if I wanted to get a show over quickly, the main event would be, say, a scaffold match. So I've rocked into a new town. I want to get my show over. A lot of people there quick. So I'm going to hot shot the show instead of building a storyline to get to that point. I'm just going to stick it on straight away, and hopefully people come like flies to honey. And that's the idea of hot shotting. Why would you hot shot the opening match of a show that's already sold out? I don't understand it. This comes back to WWE, right? And whoever's booking out there, whoever's running this side of things, that comes back to them, right? It literally murdered the card for anybody else coming up. And I'm going to step forward to Goldberg and Lashley. The finish of their match, which we'll talk about later, if that first match didn't happen, that would have made the crowd go into raptures, the way that match finished. But they couldn't because they just saw bloody everything else in the opening match. I don't understand why you would start a show that way. To me, the rest of the show was good. There were some matches I did and didn't like. The show was solid, but to open up with that, it's just ludicrous. Right? That it was a main event in any show, any part of the world, for any promotion in the world.
Yeah.
That's a main event. Not even the main event had that much going for it.
Well, as it turned out, but I agree. And back in the in the early days, and certainly when I started getting involved in booking and understanding the structure of a show and whatever, and I'd often speak with certainly the biggest legend we've had here in Australia, who was probably Australia's Hulk Hogan and Mario Milano. But they would always say, you need to be really, really careful with placement of matches, because if you give them everything before the main event is not a main event. There's nothing left for them to do. There's nothing new, or not so much new, but different, or even in terms of some of the high spots, you don't leave the crowd with that wow feeling at the end. And I think whilst I agree with you that the match was actually, in my opinion, probably one of the best, if not the best on the night, and there were some fantastic moves, and there was some, and I've written a lot of it down, but just some of the stuff they did, you had absolutely no chance coming on the next match, because theoretically the show's supposed to pick up pace as you go along. Where were you going to go after that?
Well, let's maybe set somebody on fire in the ring and shoot them 5 times. We are in Saudi Arabia, So, but in all seriousness, you can't. There's nowhere to move after all that. You have put your main event opening the show, and we will talk about obviously finishes and other matches later on, which the semi-main and main event I think had the best 2 finishes, and we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Right. Because they were clever and they used good psychology to get the match over, right, in the end, in my opinion. Right?
Well, this was the first match on any of the pay-per-views that we have reviewed, and we reviewed quite a few, that I actually gave a match a 9 out of 10.
I didn't rate it. Honestly, didn't rate it. I was disgusted. I was that disgusted with its placement. I didn't rate it.
But the match itself, though.
Match was great. Yeah, match was great if it was main event.
I love the bit, like where, and feel free to jump in, young Anthony, but, where Rollins wraps the chain around the foot, because obviously he was going to go for the big stop with the big heavy chain, although he ended up, I think, doing a bit of super kicking with it. I love the spot where Rollins was on the top turnbuckle and got pushed actually into the cage and then down onto the table and through it. There was some fantastic, and the crossbar using the chair and then the wrench, that bar of the chair. It was a really, really, as you said, it was a main event match, any arena, any promotion, anywhere in the world. I thought they both worked their guts out.
I agree, but like I said, for the position of the match.
Yeah. Position was wrong. Absolutely.
It was wrong. So I didn't even rate it. Honestly, I didn't rate it. And like I said, that's why is my disclaimer when I opened up. This is not against the performers that were in the match, the wrestlers that were in the match. This is against how it was booked.
Yeah,
you left nothing for anybody else. Absolutely nothing.
No, you didn't. As we spoke just before, we'll talk about it in a minute when we go on to the next match. For a variety of reasons, which we'll talk about in a moment. Actually, the second match probably should have opened, but we'll talk about that and then build up, But Anthony, are we just 2 old fogies who have missed the boat, or what do you think from a young person's point of view?
Edge versus Rollins, as you guys said, is a main event no matter where you go.
Correct.
Problem with it is SummerSlam, SmackDown, Saudi Arabia. But the thing is that you had, it was a 1-1 tie if you look at both matches.
Yeah.
Right. And then you come in to a Hell in a Cell, which hopefully, which it probably won't, consider they're going to be both on Raw as of next week, should have ended the feud.
Yes.
With this, though, it was the match was good if you took away the cage, if you took away the cell.
Nah, because you're introducing weapons in the first match of the night. It still doesn't work.
I'm saying if you took away everything, you just had it as a solid wrestling match.
A pure wrestling match, yes, 100%. No weapons, just those 2 guys going out on skill alone.
Yeah,
100% agree. 100%.
You take out all the elements and all that.
100%.
I even got a note written in my blue book here. Did they need this match?
Well, it's a question of did they? Well, as an opener, I don't believe they needed the match at all. As a main event of any card that you want to put on at any WWE show, definitely
big time.
Main event. Yeah, right, without a doubt. To get to your question about did they need that match? No, probably not. And 2, the booking of these 2 guys, which work very well together, right? You've now finished the feud, right?
Yeah.
Why didn't they? They could have drawn the match. Let's say we didn't do this ridiculous match as an opener, but you had a match that went to a half-hour time limit. So there was no outcome at the end of the feud. You had 1-1. You could walk away from this and then pick up this this storyline 6 months, 12 months in the future, right? That the feud was never finished with. Who is truly the best? You just ended it in a ridiculous match, in a magnificent setting, the crown jewel, as you said, one of the nicest arenas I've seen them put together for a long time. It was a beautiful looking place.
Oh, yeah.
Right. But you just ended it in a ridiculous match at the beginning of a show, right? With no end line of storyline to see that you could actually move this forward.
But maybe, because see, when Edge re-signed with WWE, it was only a 2-year contract to do, I think, about half a dozen matches. I think that's roughly what it was. So is that the end of Edge actually wrestling? Like he's fulfilled his contract and they needed to end it. So being a legend and being how he went out the first time and he was able to come back and all the rest of it, did they just end it sending him off on a high?
I don't know. Let's put ourselves in owner of the promotion right now.
Yeah.
Who have I got at the moment that's going to draw bumps on seats?
Well, it's funny you say that because as big as the roster is, there's no Hogan there. There's no Hogan type person. There's no Stone Cold type person. There's no Rock. The only interest I personally have at the moment, and we'll get to it later, is the whole Roman Reigns story. That's the only one that really gets you interested because, you know...
Who's his opponent? Roman Reigns.
Brock Lesnar.
Brock Lesnar not on a semi-retirement contract, and he's over 40 years of age?
Yeah, he is.
So what does that say about their talent pool?
Yeah, exactly.
Edge over 40, right? Lesnar over 40. Goldberg over 50.
Yeah.
Right? Your 3 main events. Lashley's in his 40s.
True.
Lashley's in his 40s.
He can still go though.
Yeah, I'm not saying about they can't go or can't go.
Yeah.
But that's not the point of matter, right?
Nah.
The point is, right, is that your top 4 guys will say at this point are all over 40.
Yeah.
Right? And when they say wrestlers never retire.
No.
Right, it's true. So, speaking from experience. Right?
Well, we all know, guys who have got well over their use-by date.
There's always one more match left.
Yeah, of course there is.
Right? That's the way we all look at it.
Yeah.
With Edge, this is my opinion, but looking from the window in.
Yeah.
Right? They need him still for at least another couple of years until they develop someone or talent they have a top 5 or 6 guys that are under 30, under 35, right? And I don't see that at the moment. You've jobbed out Rollins. He's probably your second or third best heel.
Yeah, absolutely. At the moment, yeah.
Yeah, right? And if we look at the competitors, most of their top heels and baby faces are under 35. In AEW, right? So there's a serious issue at WWE, a serious issue with who is the next guy. I mean, we've got guys coming through NXT. There's only one, right? Steiner's son, right? That to me is a guy that can move on. But then who's there for him to work with? So this is the problem they have at WWE. It's serious drama. They've got a serious problem out there.
I think if we, and this will only apply the context in terms of our Australian audience and particularly our Melbourne ones, but it's if you akin it to a AFL team, they're saying like Geelong at the moment, 12 of their players are over 30 something.
Yeah.
So they're in a window where if they don't do anything next year, that they basically will drop to the bottom because they're going to have to do a total rebuild. Whereas, let's say, a team like a Richmond, they're going in with a very, very strong hand into the draft, and they've got a lot of great young kids, and they're continuing to develop them because they know that the likes of Rewald and Cochin and all that are going to retire at the end of the next season, and that they need to bring these through. So you sort of got to have that conveyor belt approach going. and releasing some of the talent that WWE have released in recent times. I think there was a few there that, raised some eyebrows, obviously. I mean, I would have thought with the push he got, someone like our own Buddy Murphy would have stayed. He was someone who could have done something a bit.
And he had to be under 35. He'd be in his early 30s, but I'd say. But
he had a massive push alongside of Rollins and Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio, and all. Like, I mean, he was in a main story in a picture. He was looks the part, good worker, and there was a lot of others, that got let go. And you think, well, is WWE sort of the Geelong of the process now? Because, as you say, like, they've got to keep bringing in these part timers to.
Oh, that's right, to fill up the spots. And the other thing is their recruiting methods now of only wanting to bring in WWE trained talent.
Yeah.
So I think Belair,
yes,
she comes straight from university to the WWE Training Institute and was trained there. And so she's never worked on the indie scene. Now, the indie scene is bad for a few reasons because of the mentality out in the indie scene and also sometimes with the over choreographed spots that happens in a lot of indie stuff. But if you look at some of the indie guys, let's look at probably the best well-known indie guy, which is Daniel Bryan.
Daniel Bryan, yeah.
Right, at Ring of Honor. But he converted his style to suit what WWE wanted. I think that looking at the indies for the WWE is still a must. I think Nick Khan has said, "Oh no, we're only going to be developing our own talent." That will be so much of a slow turnover for them that I don't think they're going to stay in the game. They'll have to keep bringing in these old guys where they're developing guys. And like I teach wrestlers for George the Hitman Julio for his gym. Out of every one good guy you get, you may go through 20. And that's not an exaggeration. That's not me an exaggeration, right? So what you're going to go through 20, 30 people to find one good guy that may not be great, just good.
Yeah, it's a bit like the horse racing industry. All these people go in and buy, the horse at the yearling sales and all that. They buy all these horses. But I can tell you from personal experience from years and years ago, where I had a pacer and I had a thoroughbred, they never even got to the track.
Yeah, that's right. So this is where I think that WWE still needs to look at the indies. I think they still need to look at the indies.
I mean, they did have meetings with New Japan to try and do something with that, and that was all part of trying to keep Daniel Bryan. But for whatever reason, they seem to side more with AEW.
Because of creative freedom. Like if you're part of the WWE network,
you got no.
It's the WWE way. That's it. New Japan, any promotion doesn't want to be stuck into that. They want to run their own thing. You hear stories of OVW, right, through Jim Cornette.
Yeah.
Where OVW would stop bringing down talent. They'd all of a sudden, I think Jim Cornette tells a story that he had a guy, I believe he was the nephew of, name eludes me now, but one of the head trainers at OVW, the guy that originally started it all. Good-looking guy, big guy, long hair. WWE takes him for a tryout, shave his head and bring him back shaved.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. You don't want to be stuck as a sub-promotion to another company being dictated to. And I think that's why the NWA, AEW, and we've fallen right off track here.
Yes.
But AEW and all the other rest of them are sort of banded together. They still run as separate entities. They just work with each other.
Yeah.
With WWE, it's a dictatorship. You don't run. You do what he says or else.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, so that's my rant for so far in the show, and I will rant again. But I think that's too.
Talking about part timers and that, very very strong rumours of who the next part timer is, who's coming in, and maybe as early as Survivor Series in 4 weeks.
And who is that? Enlighten us, Pete. I haven't heard it.
The Rock. The Rock.
Really?
To go up against Reigns. Now, The Rock is as huge as he is, and he'd be a massive, massive draw. No question. But, I mean, when's the last time he worked a match? 3 years, 4 years?
Yeah. Look, I think that's not the problem. That's not the problem for a guy like that. I think he could walk in there and just, throw the black tights on and the black boots and rip the elbow pad off and he's into it. I don't think that's a problem. For me, I think the problem lies in why are you bringing him in? How are you going to use him effectively? And a guy like that, there's got to be a reason for him to come in. I see him looking more heelish if he comes in and tries to challenge Reigns for the head of the table.
Well, that's what it'll be. It'll be around the whole,
you're
not the head of the table or the tribal chief or...
He looks more heelish by doing that. Why would you not... This is just my opinion. Why would you not... And Anthony can jump in on this one too, right? If Reigns was doing the wrong thing by the family and disrespecting Sika and Fatu and the rest of them and Alpha and disrespecting them and disrespecting the other Usos, then he comes in to set this guy right in the family instead of just rocking in there to try and put bums on seats and look like he's trying to steal another guy's glory. Once again, this is hot shotting. When we spoke about earlier in the show about hot shotting, this is hot shotting. They're hot shotting out of desperation now. We need to hot shot the Rock in there.
Competition again.
But once again, they're hot shotting, and hot shotting doesn't work. It works for the short term. In this medium where you're on TV, you can build on that. You have until WrestleMania to build a storyline for the Rock to come in. Yeah. You keep teasing the Rock coming in, and you say, all right, well, Reigns, I want you now to be absolutely disrespectful to all the other tribal chiefs, to the point that the Usos are looking at you sideways.
Yeah.
Dude, you're going a bit far now saying that. And then they let him mouth off about the Rock's grandfather.
Yeah.
And then he comes in off the Rock's grandfather, right?
Yeah.
So there's a reason for him to come in. It's not hot shotting. You've built the storyline. Rock has said a few times in the media and on TMZ and that, hey, listen, he's getting out of control. And then you bring him in. You've created your audience.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't understand just bringing him in. It doesn't, for a guy like that. If you hot shot him, it's going to be a small amount of money. That's it, short term.
Yeah, but that's how they live.
Yeah, but that's not how you want to do it.
I completely understand.
For you and I that are running little dinky promotions in freaking scout halls, hot shot. Get as many bums on seats. That's your income.
We need it to get the next shot.
That's exactly right. Hot shot. Right? But for guys like that, and the names that they're using are not hot shotting. What do you reckon, Anthony?
We're talking about Reigns and LA, yeah?
Yeah, Reigns and The Rock, yeah. Rumor.
I don't think, from what I've been reading, I don't think it's going to be Rock versus Reigns as a sole one-on-one match. I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to have one Uso on Reigns' side, the other Uso on the Rock side to set up a tag match for Mania. That's what I've been reading.
Okay.
Then again, you don't trust everything that you read on the...
No, God, no. I can't see that happening, to be honest.
Yeah.
Reason being is they're the champs, the tag champs. They're solid now. They tried that, Jimmy coming in, trying to save Jay from Reigns and all of that. And then they all sort of got into bed with each other. I don't necessarily see another fracture.
No, the head of the table's been established. That's what that was all about. That was what it was all about, yeah. Which is fine. I thought it was good.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, no problem at all. Yeah, no, that was good. Yeah, but we'll talk more about that, I guess, when we get into that match, because we've spent a fair bit of time on the first one already. We spent a third of our show on the first match, but you're right, because it does set the precedence, Mike, about how you set up your show and what you do to the rest of the show and the rest of the workers on the night, and what they then need to do to try and get over. And that was really hard because